going to talk about the exhibits, what you can expect. We're going to play a little music along the way as well. So let's experience bluegrass together. I'm going back to old Kentucky. There's a sea by Lindaloo. I'm going back to old Kentucky, where the skies are so blue. Hey, Chris Joslin here, Executive Director of the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum in Owensboro, Kentucky. Just giving you a sneak peek of what you can expect when you come visit us here in Owensboro and experience the Hall of Fame and the music for yourself. So we're continuing in the exhibit area, and in this area we're interpreting roughly the late 30s to the mid 50s, and during that time really a common sound begins to emerge amongst a group of musicians, certainly led by Bill Monroe. And in fact, a lot of the musicians and bands that emerge in this era came through Bill Monroe's band. So not only did he influence them, but for a lot of these folks, he really taught them firsthand and influenced them directly. But something else that was really impacting the development of bluegrass music in this time period was really technology of the day, namely radio and the phonograph and sound amplification. All those things really led to essentially a music business beginning to take shape. And in this era, late 30s to the mid 50s, bluegrass music was not called bluegrass music in those days. It was still just lumped into the broader category of country music. Some people called it hillbilly music. So just keep in mind that that commercial music was really just in its infancy in those days. But if there is a Mount Rushmore of bluegrass music, certainly it would have Bill Monroe included, Flatt and Scruggs, who came through Bill Monroe's band, and then the Stanley Brothers, of which Carter Stanley, the lead singer and guitar player, actually came through Bill Monroe's band as well. But then, so these three groups probably influenced early bluegrass music more than anyone, just because they were out front, had strong careers. Certainly Bill Monroe, Flatt and Scruggs had ties to the Opry. They were recording a lot of music in those days, and they essentially gave way to a lot of the artists that you see featured in this part of the exhibit area, from certainly Mac Wiseman and Jim and Jesse and Jimmy Martin, Don Reno and Red Smiley, the Osborne brothers, and the list goes on and on. This is sort of the golden age when giants roamed the earth with banjos and fiddles and guitars in their hands. We talk about the influences of the Grand Ole Opry again. Bluegrass music and country music, they were essentially traveling down the same path in those days. You can see songbooks from Bill Monroe as well as Roy Acuff. We have one of Minnie Pearl's hats as well. This is a great old show poster of Bill Monroe. It's really kind of iconic, a hatch show print. Earlier we were talking about what makes bluegrass bluegrass. I think there are several elements that define, for most people, the bluegrass sound. It's played on acoustic instruments, number one, and it includes a mandolin, banjo, acoustic guitar, upright bass, and a fiddle. And usually the songs are pitched at a higher pitch, so that the vocalist has to really step into it. You can't be timid and play bluegrass. You got to sing high and lonesome, and there's no way to do that in a really soft manner. And plus, the tempo's usually up tempos and syncopated, and all that just brings an energy to the music, which I think is really important. Another instrument that crept into bluegrass in the mid 50s was the resonator guitar, primarily because of Josh Graves. He played with Flatt and Scruggs, and he came on the scene in the mid 50s and really helped Flatt and Scruggs create their own unique sound of bluegrass, because Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs came through Bill Monroe's band. So they were looking for a way to differentiate themselves. Certainly Josh Graves on the dobro guitar did a lot. And in fact, this is the very guitar that Josh Graves used to record all the classic Flatt and Scruggs songs. So he wrote the book on bluegrass dobro using this instrument right here, which is pretty awesome. Here we talk about technology, and none more important than radio, because throughout the 40s it gained steam, and then throughout the early 50s there were so many radio stations that were beginning to play hillbilly music that included all these great bluegrass musicians like Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs and the Stanley Brothers and Reno and Smiley and on and on. And a lot of these were local regional stations, but there were a few that emerged that really almost started defining that era. None more important than WSN, and they broadcast the Grand Ole Opry. And so Bill Monroe made his way there in the late 30s and became an early star of the Grand Ole Opry, which was very important for his career, very important for the development of bluegrass music. When you think about all the folks that Bill Monroe influenced, I mean, he's in the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum here. He's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. In fact, his mandolin is one of the crown jewels if you ever visit there in Nashville. He's also in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. But Bill Monroe is also a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, inducted in 1997 posthumously. And I love to tell this story that when Elvis Presley came on the scene in the mid-50s, his first hit was That's All Right Mama. But the B-side of That's All Right Mama was Blue Moon of Kentucky by Bill Monroe. And we have a copy of that Sun 45 record, Blue Moon of Kentucky, Bill Monroe. So even Elvis Presley, rockabilly, rock and roll artists, they were influenced by Bill Monroe and his sensibilities and how he was putting this music together. Certainly, Elvis Presley had his own arrangement of Blue Moon of Kentucky, but you can certainly hear those bluegrass influences there. As he sang, Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and proved untrue. Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and left me blue. It was on a blue night, the stars shining bright, and you whispered from on high, your love said goodbye. Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and said goodbye.